Hi there, this is a lesson on image space, figures, and colors. So after we've drawn our individual figures and have added 1, 2, 3 other figures at least with some additional elements in the foreground, we can start thinking about colors. First of all, we want to render each individual figure somewhat three-dimensional. That already gives the whole drawing more depth. And we do that by picking 3 colors for each area to show light and shadow. So for example, the green monster here in the front has let's say, I think it was a light green, mid-tone green, and a blue for the skin. You always start with the lightest color and apply that as a whole layer. Then you do the mid-tones over that and then work with the darks wherever you see the shadows. I had the light source coming from a different direction when I colored this in. Now it looks rather different because the light is coming from this side instead of from this side. But I think you get the idea. I'm going to show you how this is done on the next figure behind it. So here you remember we have the overlap to also show image space, and now we're going to apply the same color rendering as we have here in the front. So this is going to be my lightest tone. Then I'll use I'll use a brown for the mid-tone and the dark blue for the shadows. I'm actually going to look at the light, how it's falling on here, and yeah, I can't really use that because I've already put in shadows, so I'm going to have to imagine how the light falls also from this side. So if we imagine that each of these muscle areas is somewhat shaped like a sphere, you'll have the light on one side and the shadows coming in from the other. And you layer the colored pencil so that there's no paper visible anymore when you're done. You can increase the coloring a little bit through putting on more layers of the same color. once you've sculpted the whole area, the whole figure with your 3 tones, your lightest tone, your mid-tone, and your dark, you can also add some additional colors that your figure has to include a little bit more detail. Now I'd like to come to tricks you can apply to make this whole image appear deeper and with more space. The first thing you do is that you try to include warmer colors in the foreground and brighter colors in the foreground. So all of these things here are the foreground, and all of these here are the background. Warmer colors and brighter colors, you can see that it shows a lot more bright green for this figure and something much more dull and colder for this figure. This also increases image space and makes it clear that this figure is standing closer to us than this figure. The next is also that you include detail in the front. So the front figures also have more detail in the color. That means the further away you are, your figures are not only colder and more dull in color, but also more simple. That means the figures in the back, you don't have to render them with 3 tones. So you can go down to 2 tones in the mid area, and the smallest one can just be in 1 tone. You also include more contrast in the foreground. So here with this figure in the foreground, I can include some red. I've already put some red here to make a nice contrast to the green. So you work with color contrasts, preferably complementary contrasts in the foreground, where you can put green and red, blue and orange, and purple and yellow. All the shadows are going to be in cold colors. You have purple, blue. You can also work with green in the shadows, and usually the colors should go towards the back colder. That means you can put green shadows in the front, blue shadows in the mid area, and purple shadows in the back, unless you want to use the purple or the colors for complementary tones, for complementary contrasts. You should also put your shadows, you should place them in a dynamic way. That means place them so that they work for your composition. That means you can put your shadows diagonally in this way, or you can have a vanishing point and put your shadows in respect to your vanishing point, increasing image space like that. You can also have shadows come in from the side, where then all of a sudden we will understand that there's a figure coming in here, or already right there on the edge of what we can see. We can also include shadows right here behind another figure, which lets us know that there is somebody else standing behind that we can't see. Your goal is to fill up the space as much as you can with figures, weapons, and shadows. That will give you a more dynamic image and also increase the depth of your image. I will finish coloring this in now and fast forward it then to the final outcome. Please also have a look at how to use lines to increase image space. You can apply these tricks with not only with ink pen, but also with colored pencil or paint.